So, to introduce our panel, I'm going to move from this side and run round, and that's the order in which they'll be speaking. Representing the Conservative Party, we have Councillor Mark Shelford, who's the Councillor for Lincoln, and the Baines Cabinet Member for Transport and Environment and Deputy Group Leader for the Conservatives. Next to him is Peter Andrews, who is representing the Bath North East Somerset Independent Group, otherwise known as BIG. So we'll see that come up. He's an organiser, bookseller, a founder member of Bath and West Community Energy and Transition Bath. Next to him will be me actually, but beyond that is Faye Whitfield, who is representing the Green Party. She's a local campaigner doing an MA in Heritage Studies and is a candidate in the Lanbridge ward. Then we have Councillor John Bull, who is Councillor for Poulton, and is the chair of the CTE panel, that's the Communities Transport and Environment Policy Development and Scrutiny panel, easier known as CTE. And he represents the Labour Party. And then we have two representatives from the Liberal Democrats who are going to do a double act. Joe Wright, who is a local community and environmental campaigner, also a candidate in Lanbridge ward. It must be something about the air there. She's had an exhibition recently called #Get Out of Your Car and is actively campaigning on those issues. And then finally, Councillor Richard Samuel, and he is the Councillor for Walcott and sits again on the CTE panel. And so that's your panel for tonight. And I'm going to ask now Councillor Mark Shelford to kick us off by coming and speaking to us.
Ian, thank you very much, and also the Bath Quakers for organising this event. We're all here for the same reason, and it's great we've got the opportunity to tell everybody our respective stories from our groups and what we in Bath should be doing. I was up in Parliament yesterday speaking, giving evidence at one of the committees about transport and decarbonising transport, particularly in relation to trams. And it is clear that it's engulfing everybody within society at last. And it is fantastic that now we are pushing an open door, whereas for years, those of us who've been environmentally driven have not had that openness, which is fantastic. So, my initial goals as a councillor 4 years ago, when I was standing in Lincoln, were the first four aspects. But now it has to change, and we now have to add another aspect, which is about decarbonising transport, and that's really important. We'll come on to that in a moment. Of those first four, we've made significant progress in all of those areas, bar one, which is food. I have, despite the fact that I'm the chair of the Environment and Sustainability panel, I've had very little ability, very little hands on levers to influence the local supermarkets about the circular economy, about making sure that they sell locally produced food. And we do grow a lot of food around us, and this is extraordinary. I'm hoping that there is a change now and that there's a will to engage the local supermarkets will engage with the local population to support the circular economy. So the holy trinity of decarbonisation. Now decarbonisation is only one of the greenhouse gases, methane, CFCs, etc. But it is the biggest one, and it's the most potent one, the one we need to deal with. And a lot of people don't understand. I know that this audience is an intelligent audience within the environment, and they understand that those are three separate things, but trying to get that message out is very, very difficult. And why do we need to separate them out? Because they are different. Heat. How do we generate heat in this country? The first thing you need to do is not lose it. So, are those windows in this room good at insulating heat? No. Why can't we have good insulating windows in this room? Well, look at the Bath Preservation Trust and Heritage England, and planning regulations around listed buildings prevent us doing that. So we need to work at that and get that balance right at the practical level, and this is what we're all about. I don't know if you've seen this slide before, but it's very interesting. What's particularly interesting is that transport, specifically transport, is not reducing. It's stubbornly staying there at around about 27% of all our output. Interestingly, and I didn't know this, waste management is only 4%. That's all rubbish. That's only 4% of our carbon budget. And then agriculture is 10%. So in any plan that we come up with, and we are in the process of generating this plan to become carbon neutral by 2030 as leaders within the community, we need to work and take off the easy bits out of all of those, that whole lot. But we then need to work hard at delivering the difficult bits. And it is about personal habits. So, for example, I came here today on my bicycle, and since I've taken over the job of the environment and transport, I've done 2,211 miles on my electric bicycle. And that's in about 2 years. Now, that's a saving of 381 kilograms of carbon dioxide within the environment. And that is a change of personal habit. So I, as an individual, have done that. A lot of other people can do that. Now, not everybody can get on a bicycle, I get it. We are still going to need cars and disabled slots, etc. But we do need to think about how we're all going to change the way we live in order to reduce our carbon output. So what I'm not going to talk about transport particularly, unless people want to ask me about it later, and I'm very happy to do that after the thing, because we had a transport hustings. I'm actually going to talk about the importance of community energy and why we should be focusing on that. And these are some of the benefits of community energy. And this is a story. We, as a council, were very supportive of Bath and the West community energy. Now, I declare an interest. I have a small number of shares in them, but I think they're a fantastic organisation. And we worked very hard with them, and this was the launch without power that didn't launch. And we got that terrible kick in the tummy in January when our power went bust. And so we've got to start again. Rather like Kipling, you have to build up your broken things and start again. So what are we doing? Let's think about this. This, I think, is exciting, and this is an area that we can go. Now, this particular thing is business, energy, and industrial strategy. It's the Department of State that is led by Greg Clark. And our involvement with him and his hubs around the regions about supporting community energy is really important. One of the tricky things, and I think I've seen Pete in the audience, is about how you break into the masses. How do you get community energy into the community? How do we do that effectively? And how do we make that barrier to market much easier for people? And that is what we're working on. I think this piece is a favourite of mine, solar streets. Why? Okay, so you can't have solar panels on Georgian buildings. Okay, got it, fine. I'm not going to argue about that. But a lot of Bath is not Georgian buildings. Where I live in Bear Flat, why the hell can't we have solar streets? Why can't we deck the car parks of the supermarkets with solar panels? Why can't we deck the park and rides with solar panels? Now, is there anybody here from the Bath Preservation Trust? Really? Sure? Okay, well, when I first came in, I said I wanted to deck the park and rides. I put solar panels on the park and rides, and I wanted to do water capture. Water harvesting. And I was told, absolutely not, you can't. Because of the planning regulations and the fact it's in a green environment. Is that balance right? Is that the area which needs to be changing the local plan? And Councillor Bob Goodman and I have gone through the change in the local plan to make environmental policy a much higher priority at the top of the list about decarbonising everything that we do. Shall I go back for one particular thing? Onshore wind farms in Bales. We are changing the local plan to make that happen. Why haven't we got it already? Do you know what happened this weekend? Bank holiday weekend? Anybody know the answer to that question? We had 90 hours of energy production without starting a coal-fired power station. Well, that's great, but wasn't that all the time? Why aren't we generating that energy and keeping it going? And by the way, if anybody says we need hydrogen-driven buses, how do you generate the hydrogen? Because it's very cost-effective. It's very costly in energy production. Well, if you're running all of the wind turbines at night and they're not being used for anything else, why don't they generate hydrogen that we can then use to power vehicles? Right, that's what we're all about. I recognise we've only got a few seconds to go before I meet my Cinderella. We're generating a plan. The officers have got 6 months. Thank you. The officers have got 6 months to do that. We need to look at all of those aspects in order to make that plan work. And it's about everything we do. Importantly, through the Environmental Sustainability Panel that I chair, we need to engage the community. We need to engage all of those people who might have gone up to London and be part of the demonstrations there, and make sure that there's a forum within Bath that allows people to get that message across. Also, importantly, we need to educate and make sure that all residents and actually the employees of Bath and North East Somerset understand the whole piece of the jigsaw puzzle, not just the one bit. So I think I'm going to close there. Very happy to take questions. If you were at Jonathan Porritt's lecture at Bath University, which was a fantastic lecture, are you an optimist or not? I'm definitely an optimist about making it happen. Thank you.